Hey, what's up, people? We are going to tear down this Bosch dishwasher today. And this was already present in the house that we currently live in when we first moved in. However, it had some issues. The buttons don't click with the exception of this scrub and wash one and this delay start hours one. It does power up. Like if I push the power button, you can see that it lights up. But the dispenser inside is also broken, and I didn't want to spend time trying to fix the thing. So I ended up just replacing it with another one. And I had the intention of turning this one into a parts washer because on the inside, everything is, the entire inside is all like stainless steel. However, it's been sitting for years and I haven't done anything with it. And I came to the realization that I never, ever actually have to clean parts in bulk the way I thought maybe I would if I turn this into a parts washer. So it's been taking up room for years and it's got to go. So we're just going to open it up today and see what kind of stuff is inside. Maybe see if we can salvage some of the components for like other projects or whatever. And since the dishwasher wasn't working from the get-go, our kid, who was 5 or 6 years old at the time, wanted to make us a sign that would let anybody that saw the dishwasher know that it wasn't functional. So this is what he came up with. He took 2 pieces of paper, he taped them down the middle, and then he wrote that the dishwasher doesn't work on it. Now, the funny thing is that he came in here a few days ago after I had dug out the dishwasher to try to work on this video, and he asked me what this was. And I told him, you wrote that. You wrote that the dishwasher doesn't work. And he says, really? So, of course, he doesn't remember writing it, but I've always kept this on there just to kind of as like a little memento thing of something that he did when he was younger. So I'm going to take this off and probably stash it somewhere safe. And, well, one funny thing is that it looks like it says like success, like maybe it would say like success or sucks ass. So I don't know. I guess interpret it the way that you want to, but yep, I'm definitely keeping this. So first thing that it looks like I'll need to do is remove all these screws around the perimeter of this inner liner. And then possibly these other 2 that I believe probably attached to the hinge. So once I remove the front cover, that should allow me to remove all of the wiring harness that goes up to the front controls. And there's like nothing on the back of this machine. Everything is on the bottom side, but we can't see it if we flip it upside down because it's like basically like a big cover that holds everything. Almost looks like a tub of sorts. So after we undo all of that, we'll see where that gets us, and hopefully I don't have to do anything crazy. It all looks pretty straightforward. Okay, so that's all the screws off the front. I think this should come apart now. There it goes. It's all falling apart. Whoa! All right. So that's the very front of the unit. Got a bunch of this. It looks like it's almost like recycled cloth insulation. So nothing to do there. Just set that aside. So this is all the wiring coming from the bottom to the top controls. And this front panel is not going to come off just yet. I just realized that there are a couple screws up at the top, one on the left and one on the right. And there we go. Now that's loose. So that there's going to be the control panel. Or this is probably going to be the entire control assembly. It's like there's a board in there. Well, that's interesting. It seems to have an actuator on this side for the latch. I don't know if it automatically opens the machine when the wash cycle is done, or if it just locks it so that it can't be opened, although that would be kind of weird. There are quite a few wires going to this piece. Oh, stupid. This is the on and off switch. But I guess it's got something to do with locking out the mechanism then when you have the switch engaged. Never mind. I just figured out how this works. So when you have the door closed and the latch is engaged, which is this mechanism in the middle, that would be the latch engaged so that you can't just, like pull it open without pulling the handle. You can turn the power switch on. So now I can turn it on, and as you can see, it engages in there. So like that would be on, and that's off. So if you have the dishwasher on and you pull the handle, it disengages the power switch. So it looks like to me like that would probably wipe out the current like wash cycle and just cancel it out. So you're probably going to have to like start it from the beginning all over again if you open the machine while it's running. So like I said, this thing was broken from the get-go and we never actually used it. So I don't know exactly how this machine works, but that's my guess. If anybody knows any different, go ahead and leave a comment down below. But I disconnected the rest of the connectors that are on the control panel side. And everything was just basically like a little board edge connectors, as you can see. I don't understand why it looks like there's bunched up insulation in this area. I don't know if that was done on purpose or was there like a rodent or something inside this machine. Because there's some on the front here as well. As you can see, this, I don't know, that doesn't look normal. But it seems kind of difficult for some sort of little animal to get inside. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't see any other evidence of anything in here. Oh well. And the rest of this panel just appears to be held in by some plastic tabs on the ends and also in the middle. So if we kind of like move those off to the side and pull up on this metal plate, it's like that should allow everything to come out. And yep, there it goes. So that separates the front faceplate from the rest of the front panel controls. So yeah, that's that power switch, the latch mechanism, and the buttons and LED 7-segment displays. And yeah, I guess I can see why none of the buttons worked. All of these plastic little actuators that it looks like it's supposed to have, with the exception of that one, the rest of them, and this one also as well, the rest of them were all broken. So it looks like to separate this control board from this plate, we just have to push on those tabs, and there it is. So let's see what's inside of that. Also has some plastic tabs along the outside. There we go. So no surprises, some relays. That's going to be probably the main microcontroller. That's a Motorola device. Got a little power transformer, so this probably takes care of stepping down maybe the mains coming in down into voltages that the microcontroller and all the stuff on this board can use. Looks like we got some 12-volt relays. These are all 12-volt relays. And looks like we can further pop the board out by pulling these tabs off to the side. And there we go. That's the bottom of the board. Got a few other small ICs. These are probably going to be like a triacs or something for activating solenoids and stuff down in the bottom. So, yeah, not a whole lot of stuff. But then again, you don't really need much for a dishwasher. You just need to be able to activate things at the right times. And that's all done by the microcontroller. It just needs some support hardware that can drive all that stuff. And on the back side of the button board and the LEDs, we just have some diodes and resistors. Looks like maybe some small SAW-23 transistors up there. So, yep, that's about it for that. Not much else on this front door other than the dispenser mechanism. And it looks like the only thing that this has that's actually like an active device is this wax motor. And the way these work, if you are not familiar with them, is that they have two contacts down on the bottom of this one, and it has a small sort of like piston inside that, as the wax material inside warms up, it has like a small heater. Then it extends outwards, and in the case of this one, what it does is it pushes on this lever, and this actually has a small latching mechanism up on this other part. So that when it gets pushed out once, I think that's when it releases the door to allow the detergent to fall into the tub of the washer. And then as it releases and it cools down and it recontracts, this lever comes back up. It goes into another position there. And then the second time that it engages, that the wax motor activates, it pushes out. And it looks like it activates this other small piston-looking thing on the side. And that's where the rinse-aid is. So I think that's how it's able to do both the detergent release and the rinse-aid release just using one wax motor. There was another connection on the bottom of the dispenser there, and that's most likely just going to be some sort of small optical board to detect when it's run out of rinse aid, because it can tell you that. Yeah, there's an LED for that up in the front panel. So that's most likely being done with that. I'll remove that in a bit, and we'll see what exactly they're using to detect the rinse aid level. So it turns out the little board inside was actually a reed switch. So this is a magnetic reed switch. And so what's happening here is that this small box looking thing inside is going to have a magnet. And when it's got plenty of fluid, then it's going to float up and either turn this switch on or turn it off, one of the two. And that's how the rest of the circuitry is going to know that it's got plenty of fluid or it needs to be refilled. So I thought it was going to be something optical, but nope, it's magnetic. But yeah, very simple mechanism using just one wax motor. I've seen some of these where they actually have two different wax motors, one to activate the release of the detergent and one to activate the release of the rinse aid, but they managed to do it all with just one by using this like latching mechanism. If you think of like one of the clicking pens where you can click the top to, bring out the tip of the pen, and then you click it again to release it, that's basically how this mechanism works. Okay, now that these wires have all been freed from all the stuff that they were connected to in the front on the front door, it looks like I can tilt the washer onto its back, and then that'll give us access to remove this bottom part that has the pump motor and all that stuff. So I'll reposition this so we can look at the bottom, and then I'll figure out how to remove all that stuff, because there's like no screws on the sides or anything that I can see. It looks like everything's going to be down there. So as you can see, we can't see anything from the bottom because it has this sort of tub down here that houses everything. But there is a screw on this plate. It's got two. It's got one on this side and one on the opposite side. So that should allow me to get the rest of this cabling through. And then there are a couple of screws. You can't really see it from this angle, but it's basically holding this plastic to the rest of the chassis, looks like. Okay, all the screws are out. Yep, that's all that holds this in place. So that's coming out. Okay, this is... got to push this up to be able to get it out. There we go. That allows this piece to come off, and I mean, nothing on that that's exciting, so I'm just going to set that aside. And removing the two screws holding this tub to the chassis doesn't appear to have done much. I still can't move it. There are two more screws just inside of this and that hole, and I can actually touch it if I reach in there. But it looks like these sort of side covers should be able to come off somehow. But I've got this plastic part that's kind of holding it in the front. So I think I need to open the door for that. And at this point, I think maybe I should just remove those two screws that were holding the front stainless steel liner to the hinges. That may allow me to remove this. All right, there we go. All right, looks like these plastic parts are held in with two screws. There's one there, and there's one more towards the bottom. There we go. So yeah, one down at the bottom. There we go. And that exposes the stuff on the side. Everything's upside down. Huh, there's something in there. I can't quite tell what it is. Oh, actually, it looks like it's maybe just a float or something to indicate water level, like when it's reached the fill to a certain amount so that it knows that it's ready to start washing. There's another one as well right there. This one looks like it's got some sort of a diaphragm or something inside that pushes out and activates this other micro switch. Yeah, it looks like that's the only two devices on this part. Okay, and here's the other side removed. There's nothing much going on this side, but now I can remove the two screws from the back, and well, that's moving now. There's this plastic piece that looks like it holds both of these tubes from being able to come off this assembly. So there we go. That removes the the drain tube, and it just has an O-ring to seal it, as well as this other tube. The third tube has a clamp. There we go. Move that out of the way. Now I can pop this tube out. Well, I was just trying to pull out the connector from the micro switch, but the entire micro switch popped out, so we're just going to take it out. And there's the second one. So now this part of the harness is free. And there's a couple more screws on each side, or one screw on each side that's inside of this small cavity. Looks like that's attaching this to the rest of the frame. So maybe that will allow this entire piece to come out. Yeah, it looks like that'll do it. All right, there it goes. Just going to remove this plug cord, take off these wire nuts. And there we go. It's like pulling these wires through should make things a little easier, but there is a grounding strap that's holding things up. Okay, that just has a spade connector on it. Okay, so there's an assembly, like this part here with the pump, that's still attached to the rest of the washer. The water inlet solenoid, I just have to remove 2 connectors off that. There's also another grounding lug on this inlet fitting. Oh, the spring mechanism, it's still attached from the bottom and around into this like pulley looking assembly, and that goes to the hinge mechanism. So it looks like this spring needs to be detached first. There we go. It's coming out. Now it looks like I can disassemble this part by pushing it up. There we go. So, just a spring. Okay, both sides are out, so I think finally this part should come off. We still got a bunch of wiring on this side. All right, that's just easily pulling off. There's something else mounted to the bottom of this part. Okay, there are a couple connectors that have some tabs on the side that I gotta push, but show you what those looks like once they come out. So I got one out. So they got these 2 tabs on each side. Those are latched into a couple of small cavities for them on the bottom of this part. And there we go. Got both of those out. Finally. This part comes out. So not a whole lot of stuff on this. There's the solenoid for the water inlet and all the stuff for the water level sensing. There was this floater that fell out. That appears to have gone somewhere in there. So it looks like if the water level down on the bottom of this part, like if water was leaking out and was in here, looks like this would also activate the micro switch that came out. So I guess that would cut off water flow so that it didn't keep trying to fill up with water. And maybe it would just lock it out completely. There appears to be some sort of a sensor or something on this board. Oh yeah, that's an optical sensor. So one side's going to be the emitter, the other side's going to be the receiver, probably like a photodiode. Definitely not much going on. You can see that they got one common, so that's probably going to be like the ground. And then each one of those is going to be, one's going to be like the positive for the infrared LED, and then the other one's going to be the output, or it might be even be like a photo transistor. So one side's going to be the collector, the other side's going to be the emitter. So that's all that's on that. I'm going to guess that this is probably for sensing when this unit needs to be descaled, like when it needs to have a good cleaning done. Unless it's got something to do with detecting fluid going through the machine, because that's how that works. So as you can see, it's got the detector on one side, the transmitter on the other, and then water and like detergent and stuff would just flow through that. And obviously that would affect the light going from the transmitter to the receiver. So not entirely sure what exactly this is used to detect, but it's obviously got something to do with the water. So there are 2 pumps on this machine. This big motor drives the wash pump, the one that does the spraying of the water inside of the washer. And then this is the drain pump. This is what would be draining the water out of the machine after it's gone through its entire wash cycle. It has some rubber boots on the bottom. This is just to like cushion the mechanism against that big bottom part that we removed. There's a couple more on the motor itself. So these are just some squishy rubber cylinders. All the spade connectors on this machine have these locking tabs that you have to like push on that little tab to release it so that it can pop out. So these are those two connectors that were latched into the bottom part of the tub. Looks like these are just an interface from the upper part or the wiring harness that goes to the front of the door. And so once you remove these connectors from these and then some of these grounds, that releases the entire harness that goes to the front door. So there's not a whole lot left at the bottom. Looks like this motor might actually just rotate out. There's a small tab, plastic tab. Looks like you can push it and then turn it. Will that actually allow it to come out? Ah, yeah, there it is. So, yeah, that's the impeller. That's the entire motor assembly. There's a capacitor. It had it has three wires going to it, not including the ground. But there's this black one, the white one. There was another white one as well. I don't know if these two are connected together internally. Oh, yeah. That's just basically a small bus right there. So that's the same connector. So looks like it's just those two to provide power to the motor to make it spin. And there we go, 120 volts, 60 hertz. Inside of this cavity, we are going to see the heating element. And it looks like it just has a couple of tabs on each side that need to be pushed in and out. Oh, no, wait, it's got one. No, it's got four. So also on the top and on the bottom and on the other side. Okay, I think I got them released for the most part. There it goes. So it's like it's shrouded with this piece of stainless steel plate. But there's the actual heating element. Completely caked in, looks like detergent. It's like they never ran some sort of a cleaning cycle on this thing, like with vinegar or something. So everything's completely caked. It's leaving white powder all over my hands. And so going to this, there's two wires, basically. One goes through this switch that appears to be a pressure switch of some kind. You can see when I push down on it. Well, actually, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear the clicking, but it clicks this switch. And then the entire thing is grounded with this lug that basically touches the metal. This entire thing is going to be like stainless steel. And it just has the insulators on the ends to protect the actual terminals from shorting against the body of the heater. And the only electrical device left on this bottom assembly is this pump. And that releases with a small tab on the side. Just got to pull on it and then it starts twisting out. Then we can kind of shimmy in. Oh, there he goes. I had to twist a little more. But there we go. There's the impeller. So just standard regular little pump. Nothing crazy. So there's a magnet inside that might be able to. It's not easily coming out, but yeah, that's basically all it is. See, we got some copper inside. That's all the windings for these two poles. So this just operates straight off mains. So 110, 120 volts, 60 hertz. Oh, it appears that I was lying. There's one more electrical device on this thing, and it's inside there. That appears to be either a temperature sensor or a thermal cutoff of sorts. You can see it inside there. So got a couple wires going to that. think I'm going to have to detach this assembly from the rest of the tub. And for that, it looks like there was just 2 screws, one there and one there. Actually, maybe 4, including those 2. Those might need to come off. Yeah, looks like that'll release that part. So let's see if we can pull this off. Ah, there we go. It's a little more violent than I thought it would be, but that's because of this gasket. It seals it to the tub. So there's that last sensor. Looks like this cover just comes off. Then it's got 2 tabs. We'll move off to the side. There it goes. Got a big ol' O-ring on this thing. So the actual device has 2 different switches, looks like. Wonder if maybe one's like normally open, the other one's normally closed. Doesn't seem to be indicated anywhere on the package. But it looks like we can at least partially open it. So that's the inside. Oh no, I think both sides were being used. I guess I must have just pulled one off and I totally didn't realize it. So this side of the switch with these 2 contacts appears to be a normally closed set. And when this thing gets hot enough, there's a small rod that pushes up against this copper piece, and it causes this leaf to separate, and then that breaks contact between these 2 terminals. The other 2 terminals, I can't quite tell what they do. Looks like they might go to something inside of the switch, because I don't see any external contacts. There's just a couple of rivets down there at the bottom. So there's one there, and there's one down there. So not entirely sure what all that's doing, but that could also be maybe a thermal fuse inside. That if this thing like reaches like way too high of a temperature, then it just completely opens it up to prevent like a dangerous situation or, something catching fire or whatever. Especially if you've got the heater on and for some reason there's like no water inside to heat up. Also, you probably wouldn't want to get the water too hot that it starts melting like plastic components. So that's just my guess. I don't know for sure what exactly they're all doing. So that's all that was on this bottom assembly. This thing looks like something that would look like a space station or something like that. You've got your port there where all your ships come in. They're just kind of like, shh, go inside, You got some living quarters, the bridge. So yeah, that pretty much did it for all the electrical components on that thing. This is the bottom wiring harness going to the motor and the switches and the solenoid valve and all that stuff. So really not a ton of stuff inside of this machine. And the last thing, so this is the water level sensor, and I've already detached this top part from the rest of the assembly. So basically what this is this would trap air inside, and as the water level is rising, it would start applying pressure to the air, which would eventually activate the diaphragm that's going to be inside and push that small pin out, which would cause this lever to move, and that activates the micro switch. So it looks like we can take this apart further if we just separate these tabs. There we go. So that comes off. There's the diaphragm. Yeah, very simple device. If I blow on this, you can see how it pushes out. Shouldn't have done that. I was thinking about this thing a little bit more, and I think I realized how it works. So the heater fits into this cavity, and the main wash pump would be attached to this opening. And so what happens is the outlet of the pump is this port, and that's going to apply some pressurized water into this cavity. So what's going to happen is that water pressure is going to push on that diaphragm and activate the switch to allow the heater to work, because you wouldn't really want to be heating up water that's not moving. So the only time that the heaters can be activated is if the water is like circulating in the washer, or at least I'm fairly certain that's probably how this is meant to work. All right, and so I think that's going to do it for this one. This little pile of stuff is probably the only things that I'm going to bother keeping around for a bit. I mean, at least that motor, I'll throw it in my big magical box of many motors. Maybe I should do a like a show and tell about that someday, where I have like this big box of like nothing but various motors, both like large and small. But yeah, the wiring, this stuff is pretty good. I like this type of wiring for like whenever I need to do some sort of a little hookup or something inside of something else. It seems to be a decent quality wire, so I keep that stuff around. I might just pull off some parts off of these control boards, or the control board, like the 7 displays and the LEDs and stuff, maybe. And I mean, they have relays too, so those are always nice to keep around. Really not much else. This one wasn't as interesting, in my opinion, as the Fisher and Paykel dishwasher did a while back. If you haven't seen that video and you're interested, I'll leave a little link to it up in the top corner. And yeah, there's a lot of plastic. All the metal stuff I'll probably just end up taking to recycling. So, yep, that's going to do it for this one. I'm just happy to get this done so I can reclaim a little bit of my space here in the garage, because I'm really limited on space. And yeah, I've been working on trying to get some of it cleaned up. So this was definitely one of the things I needed to go. So if you made it to the end, thank you all for watching once again, and I will see you guys around the bench.